and from there to various other things. So the usual stuff. Haps is a platform that makes it sort of easy to broadcast to a whole bunch of different social media channels and to see all the comments people make on those in one place, which is great. But the best thing to do if you enjoy these broadcasts is probably to download the Haps app. There's a link in the title of the broadcast, and connect to that and connect by that. That will just give a better experience. Anyway, doing this broadcast today as part of a series I'm doing throughout June under the 30 Days Wild banner. 30 Days Wild is a little project run by the wildlife trusts here in the United Kingdom, and it's about encouraging people to get out and do some random acts of wildness, to get out and engage in some way with the natural world every day in June. So that's what I've been doing, a broadcast. I'm going to try to do a broadcast here every day in June. I might miss one or two in the next couple of days simply because I'm away doing lots of natural history stuff, but not in situations that make broadcasting particularly easy. But I'll do my best to get something out. And today's broadcast, I thought we would have a look at one of the moths that I find here in Perivale Wood, one which is sort of noted for having, arguably on its wing, a picture, if you want, of what's said to look like a witch's face. So I'm going to go and get that. It's currently being kept cool and relaxed in the fridge. Doesn't do it any harm. It just sits in a pot in there and cools down, doesn't move, doesn't therefore bash its wings. So hopefully it will stay still long enough to let us have a look. And I will bring that here and show you that. Now, to make that work, what I'm going to have to do is to connect to my iPhone, which I'm going to use as the camera for that. If I get the sequencing of this wrong, you're going to get a lot of annoying feedback for a moment, but I'm hoping I'm going to get this done in the right order, and it'll just be slick and effective and nothing will go wrong at all. Let's give it a go, shall we? This will mean I'll probably go on mute for a moment, and that way it will hopefully not cause any problems. So we'll do that. Now, why is that not behaving? Right, so this should now be broadcasting sound through the camera. So if anybody is listening and can confirm they actually hear me, that would be lovely. I'll leave that on there. If I try to connect the sound back to the computer, it will make a lot of noise. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to go and get the go and get them off, and we'll see how that works. So I'm just going to disappear for a moment. Right. And you don't want to be looking up my nose, do you? So here is a Mother Shipton moth. Let's see, is she going to behave if I tip this out? Oops. There we go. So this moth, I'll talk about it in a minute, we'll just have a look at it first. It's a day-flying noctuid moth, but arguably this marking on the face here at the top here, this is a nose and there's a big jutting chin at the bottom, and this is said to look like the face of a witch, and the moth therefore has the vernacular name, the common name of Mother Shipton. I'm going to put that, I'll just keep that there for now. It seems to be behaving itself reasonably well. So it's a fairly common species, although I don't get it that frequently around here. Try and hold the camera still. Ah, yes, I'm going to swap the big, yes, well spotted, Fiona. Let me do that. In fact, let me hero it. So there we are, Mother Shipton. So to help people see the face, you've got at the top here, this hooks round, and this is meant to look like a hooky nose. And down the bottom here, this is like the jutting chin, and there's a little eye there, but a little jaw in the middle. And that is said to look like, what's it doing now? Why is it doing that? Okay. We'll do it again. Right, we'll do it one more time. Hopefully this time it's working better. Right, we'll try this once more. The moth will probably warm up and fly away now, but what you've got is at the top here, this is meant to look like the hooky nose, a jutting chin at the bottom, a little eye there, and a mouth down there. And that is said to look like a witch. It's said to look like a famous witch in the United Kingdom called Old Mother Shipton. And so the moth is known as the Mother Shipton. And I will just do a bit of digging and mention a few other things about this moth. So the moth's name, I'll put this in the chat later, that's Calistigi me. It's waking up now, I have to do that. So we'll talk about the moth now, rather than look at it. There's a rather uninteresting picture. So the moth, she's calmed down again, but we'll do that for a moment. So the moth is called the Mother Shipton, or the scientific name of the Mother Shipton is, which I just said before, of course, didn't I? Let me see if I can remind myself of this. Is sorry, scientific name is Calistegi me. I'll put that up on the screen. And then I will swap these round and go back. Oops. Seem to have lost the camera. I'm not sure what's happened there. Well, it says we can see it. That image quality has gone absolutely terrible. See if that improves in a moment. Just give me a second to check something. Okay, that should be fine. Okay, that's a bit better. So there it is. Trying to do two things at once, which is always challenging. Take the lid off and we'll have another look. And I'll put its name up whilst we're looking at it. So there we go. That is Mother Shipton. The caterpillars of this feed on quite a variety of plants, actually. They feed on clovers and lucerne and a few other things. So it's not particularly rare, but rather a nice thing that I got yesterday. So we got that. And then the other moth that I just happened to pick up today, which I'll show people. I'll just leave this camera here. You can at least look at where the moth is, even though you can't see it. I'll just go and get another moth out of the fridge. So this other moth I'm not going to take out of the pot because I haven't yet got a good photograph of it. So the lighting will probably not be brilliant, but this is a red-belted clearwing moth. I attracted this to pheromone lures. A little bit earlier, and I'll do a broadcast about the use of pheromones to look for moths a bit later. Well, not today, sometime this month I suspect. But that's the first time I've seen this species, and as you can see, although it's a moth, it's got transparent wings and structurally looks quite wasp-like. We'll talk about these properly on another occasion when I've got these things and show you how the lures work and so on. So I will just temporarily turn this device off because it's not looking anything very exciting at the moment. And put the moths back in their containers, so I'll just do that off screen. And now I'm going to put these back in the fridge, so just bear with me a second once I disappear. Right, and then I thought what I'd do is I will go for a brief walk up into the meadow where that mothership head up that way in a moment, and we'll see if there's anything else we can see out there. So it was attracted to the correct lure, the lure for red-belted clearwing, that clearwing moth. So that's fortunate because they don't always come to their own lures and they sometimes get confusing. Let's put my hat on because it's rather warm outside, and put some binoculars on my neck just in case we see anything. And then what we'll do is we'll take a quick walk up into the meadow, and from there see if we can see anything. Probably won't spend a very long time out because there's not necessarily a vast amount to see, but it'll be a bit of a few minutes wander up into the meadow. So I'm going to turn back to the camera, which I'm going to turn back to looking at me. And we'll turn that on as the main thing. And from there, I will walk up into the meadow, see what there is to see. So let's go and do that. Let's grab my camera, my various bits of equipment, and we'll go for a walk up into the meadow. Heading out now through the door. I'm just going to lock the door because I'm walking away from the building and we don't want to be. I need to leave it secure. So there we go, locked up, and turn round now and start to walk up the meadow. I'll turn the camera around so you're looking out into the world. And walk up this way. And we'll just see what's in the meadows. Sun's gone in, of course, which doesn't help. But you can see the grass is quite well grown. And this was the meadow where I grabbed that Mother Shipton moth earlier. It's one of the day-flying moths. Fairly easily disturbed from grassland if they're about. And they can look a bit like butterflies in the Hesperidae, the skipper group. And what we got here? Got a beetle here. Let me see if this is going to focus on anything other than... No, did not want to focus on the insect, did it? So we'll walk a bit further up into the meadow. Keep an eye out for anything flying that I might be able to show you, or anything interesting crawling on the vegetation. Here's a moth that's related to the one we were looking at, but it is a different species. So you might be able to see it on that buttercup, approximately central to the screen now. And that is a burnet companion moth. Another noctuid moth, another day-flying moth, and it flies at a similar time of the year to another group of moths called the burnets. So this is a treat called the burnet companion. So I guess about to be a bit of a companion to them, but just enjoying the nectar here from a buttercup. Oh, they're a nice creature. Quite a lot of these, closely related to the Mother Shipton that we looked at earlier, but a different species. So we'll continue wandering up. It could be after the plant, but I suspect the burnet moths are called after the plant, and this may be called after that, but who knows? There's no rules about how people make these names up. Moving into a bit of sunshine now. We'll be monitoring this site for a variety of wildlife, butterflies and moths in particular, for some time now. But this year, so far, has been very poor for butterflies. Maybe it'll be better later in the season as it gets warmer and stuff that's been held back by the cold spring comes out. But so far it's been probably one of the worst years since I started recording here. I'll have to do the data sort of more thoroughly to really be confident of that. But it certainly feels like it's not been a brilliant year so far. But we'll wander a bit further up. So there's lots of plants now out in flower. Here's a bumblebee. Oh, there's a bumblebee. Is the bumblebee going to settle? There we go. Hey, bumblebee. Not very good at bumblebee ID without having to check in my books, but and later in the year, I will do a survey in the field for some of the clearwing moth, quite commonly the six-belted clearwing, which is something like Bembecia pneumoniformis, is its scientific name. And I'll run some of the synthetic lures out here and see if I can attract that. But we'll do a separate thing about synthetic lures and how they work and how they're produced and so on. Covering it particularly today. Continue. That. Since I've headed up this way, but not seeing any more of the mother Shipton moths in flight, which isn't that surprising. We tend not to get vast numbers of them on this site, although they're certainly not a rare species by any means. Oops. Where am I going? That's where I'm going. So one of our members spotted this plant yesterday, so I thought we'd have a look at this. This is a pyramidal orchid. Rather distinctive flower structure, helps ID it. We don't have many orchids in this site, so it's always nice to find one. A pyramidal orchid. We'll wander back through now, back through the wood, back down to where we started. We'll quickly have another look at the mother Shipton moth that we were looking at before. And that will probably be the end of today's broadcast. So we're just going to wander back, just cut into the edge of the bit of ancient woodland that is Perivale Wood here. And for those interested in obscure bits of administrative geography of the United Kingdom, as we cross this fence line here, we pass from the parish of Perivale, in which I'm standing at the moment, to the parish of Greenford, in which most of the wood lives. So there we go. Makes absolutely no difference to anything other than that's where we are. And we'll cut back down through the wood along sort of an ancient wood bank, essentially, ancient wood feature. This would have been the boundary of the wood, probably with a fence on the top of it to keep deer in or out, depending on what you were doing. And then we've got a lot of this long, thin wood millet grass here, fairly tall woodland grass. an eye on this broadcast. So we're heading back now to where we started, and we will just briefly, when we get back there, have a look at the moth again, since that was the title of the broadcast. And if anybody joins halfway through, they'll be wondering why on earth it says we're going to have a look at a moth with a witch on its wings, when what we're doing is walking through a woodland. But we'll get back in a moment. You can see ahead the Bluebell Centre where we started. The classroom, lab and general visitor centre for this reserve. Being rather ashamed that we've had it closed for essentially the last year and a bit. Certainly to the general membership, a small number of us have been able to use it for things to do with managing the reserve. There's somebody's domestic cat running up the thing. I'm afraid those things are a bit of a menace. Being in a essentially suburban, urban type of area with lots of houses around, we do get a lot of pet cats coming in, and I suspect the density of cats is one of the reasons this site doesn't really have any ground nesting birds. There's simply too much disturbance from those predators, and people unfortunately are very reluctant to keep their cats indoors where they belong. So we do get a bit of a problem with them. So we'll go back, we'll have another look, assuming it's behaving itself in the fridge, where it's staying nice and cool, at that moth again. And that will probably be as good a place as any to end today's broadcast. You can see lots of pond dipping nets drying out from yesterday when our younger members had a session looking for insects and pond life. The good thing we do here is just to engage with and try to encourage. Hello, Georgia. Yes. Georgia? Yes. Okay. Just heading back into the building now, and we will have a look at the moth again, which the title of the broadcast was. And hello from Michigan. So what am I looking for? That's it. Right. We'll just go back here. People can get very confused by having a look at a picture of the inside of the HAPS broadcast, which will go mad in a moment as it views itself repeatedly. But there we go. So there is our moth. Hopefully you can see what I'm saying about it having a picture of a witch's face on it. I'll put its scientific name up on the screen again. So that's the mother Shipton moth, and the idea is that it might behave if I let it out for a moment. So there we go. The idea is that up here at the top you've got a big hooky nose, down at the bottom you've got a jutting chin, got an eye and a mouth. So nose, chin, eye, mouth. But yeah, I mean, it can look like whatever people want it to look like. But it's named after Mother Shipton, a famous witch here in the United Kingdom. And it's a fairly common grassland species. Caterpillars feeding on clovers and lucerne and all sorts of relatively common plants. One of the noctuids, and it flies by day. Can I get a little closer? That's probably as close as I can get without the camera focus being awkward. Hopefully it's big enough. Let me try zoom in. Let me see if that works. There's a bit more of a zoom in. Don't know what the focus is like there. It's starting to wake up, so I'm going to stop the broadcast here before it flies away and look after that moth myself. Oops. Very difficult to pay attention to two things at once, I find.